Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back and relax. Let's chat about what is happening up in the stars above. Happy Monday to everybody. This morning is a day. Actually, I've had a day. I've had a weekend. I had a yesterday in particular. Saturday was a pretty good day. So I'm wondering how all of you are doing. Let's see people popping in. Yes, I'm live. Mimi saying good morning. Thank you, Mimi. And it's a good thing I didn't just start cussing all out because nothing was showing me that I was live. And in fact, Zoom is still sitting there trying to prepare my broadcast. So who knows? All I know is today we have a full moon in Virgo, and we are also looking at Mercury turning direct later on in the day. I have quite a bit to talk about, so let's dive in, shall we? Mimi, it's the you and me show here because we both have moons in Virgo. So I already had my new moon yesterday. You have yours likely tomorrow. And that sets us up for a new round of moon energy for the month. So the moon in Virgo today, before it becomes full, is in a trine to Mars. And later we'll get into an opposition with the planet Neptune and also the sun, i.e. the full moon. And then as well, during the full moon, a trine to both Jupiter and Saturn. Actually, Jupiter a little before the full moon, Saturn a little after the full moon. Net effect, a trine to both of those planets today. When we're talking about the moon in Virgo, Virgo is a ruler of our working life. It rules the 6th house in an astrology chart. It rules things to do with the practical, organized, day-to-day routines and rhythms of our life. As well, then, it rules the physical body and the rhythms and the natural opportunities that the body goes through for rejuvenation and regeneration. So we have both our physical health and our working life and the way that we serve the world up for examination during this period of time. So as far as working life, it rules our coworkers, the daily rhythm, and our to-do list. So all of the things that we do. So this morning, I don't know if this was by accident. I think it was accidentally deliberate. I changed up my routine. And I don't think I meant to do this. It just happened. My husband woke me up late, and I got busy getting prepared for the broadcast, sitting here in my pajamas, which usually I get dressed first, then I do this, or I get in the shower first, and then I get dressed, and then I do this, and then I do my makeup. Well, today, totally backwards. I did this first, then I got into the shower, then I did my makeup, and then I realized, oh my God, it's 8 o'clock. I got to get on air. So then I had the struggle trying to get on air, which cracks me up, but whatever, right? I should have known, right? I should have known. So our routines and the opportunity then for us to change it up somewhat, right? It's good to have a routine. Don't get me wrong. Routines serve us, right, for making sure we get things done in a timely manner, etc. But sometimes we get into that rut, and then those very routines that keep us on track become something that we do unconsciously. So sometimes you got to shake things up so you can be more consciously aware of what you're doing. Now, because Virgo also rules the body, we've been dealing with health. Exercise, moderation in all things to do with food or drink, or making sure you get enough exercise, but not too much exercise, healthy habits, alternative healing. So a lot of potential here for really working deeply with your physical body to engage health. I think I shared a little bit with you last week about the fact I went to the doctor, did my blood work, found out my A1C went up by like 0.6%, not making my doctor very happy, almost getting me into a panic. And so that very day, I started a new routine when it came to my health and with exercise and with making sure I'd already, cut out a lot of the sugars and so forth. But now I was really into making sure I'm counting carbs. I knew how many carbs I should have in a day. And it turns out that even a piece of bread can send me over the edge. So I've been very health conscious since last Tuesday. I've already lost 4 pounds. And literally all I've done is changed the fact that I'm exercising. I'm actually taking a walk every day, no matter how much. did a little over a bit on Saturday as I went for a 5-mile hike with my husband, who, bless his heart, has bad knees. And so we had to stop every once in a while to get him to rest up. And just made sure that I'm counting the carbs that I'm putting in my mouth. And that has been so insightful and also irritating, right? Because literally I can only have about 30 grams of carbs a day. You don't realize how quickly that adds up. And so I find myself almost every day at the end of the day going, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Because I've already put into my mouth, even things that you think of, like my morning yogurt that I eat, which is 000, meaning no, it should have no carbs, no extra added sugars, nothing, has carbs in it. I mean, carbs are a part of the daily, things that we ingest. They occur naturally in even broccoli and cauliflower, and those things that we think of as good for us have some carbs in them. So it makes it extra hard for me to watch what's going on. Consequently, though, my blood sugars, I see Sadie's tail over there. My blood sugars have gone down to the lowest they've been since I started counting them 3 years ago. Amazing, amazing. So just a little tweak in my health regime has made a pretty significant impact. Now the key is to keep the routine sort of changing up the routine periodically, but not going backwards, right? And going back into the unhealthy. That would be the more shadowy energy here, where we somehow succumb to the more negative energy in the health or working life routine stuff. We also have the energy of getting organized with Virgo. And that might mean cleaning out a cupboard or letting, opening the windows and the doors and letting the winter air, if you're up here in the Northern Hemisphere, get out of your house. Maybe it's cleaning out, a drawer or something, getting rid of the, putting away some of the extra clothes or whatever it is. This is a great time for getting organized, cleaning up, cleaning out, finding ways to become more efficient, tending to the details. Virgo energy is all about the details. And while the moon is transiting through Virgo, we get an opportunity to look at the details, everything details. And, the sign of Pisces, the other end, is a sign that is co-ruled by Neptune and Jupiter. So Pisces has the little bigger, has the opportunity to see a bigger point of view. They see from a more spiritual view. Virgo sees from the more earthly view. So we're dealing with both cleaning up of our spiritual life and our minds in particular. We're going to see why that's important. And then also our physical world. So cleaning off your desk and your closets, cleaning up the refrigerator, cleaning things. I found myself, funny thing, on Friday afternoon, somehow I went underneath my sink. Oh, I know. I was looking for a new sponge and I looked under my sink and I went, what the bleep is going on down here? So I pull everything out from underneath my sink and I reorganized it, but I couldn't reorganize it without cleaning out the tub that holds all of my soaps and cleaners and dish tabs and things like that. So I had to clean everything out, but it felt so good, right? So, get something that maybe you don't know is really in need of cleaning and get it cleaned out. Also, Virgo moon in particular, using discernment. This is a sign that thinks critically. It thinks analytically. Unfortunately, some of us get into analysis paralysis when we have the moon in Virgo. We don't want to go into analysis paralysis, but we do want to be able to use the critical functions of our minds, using some of the logical capacity of our mind, but without going so into the logic that you forget that the sun is still in Pisces. And Pisces is about your intuition. So we want to strike a balance with the moon moving through Virgo between critical thinking and analyzing and planning, but also allowing space for spirit and for change and for, just to be able to go with the flow. Water sign, right? It's the water sign. The sun is in a water sign. So we're going with the flow. We want to watch out for a couple of things, of course, and the full moon is jacking this up. I tell you, I felt it all day yesterday, and it is about anxiety, and anxiety in every kind of sense. Anxiety over what could go wrong, anxiety over what could go right, anxiety over not doing enough, anxiety, overthinking, and overanalyzing. All of that can create some very much overthinking, over criticalizing something, and then we end up in anxiety over it. And of course, the Virgo-Pisces axis is also the blame, shame, victim, martyr, savior complexes. So we want to be watching for that. Now, of course, today is the full moon. So the full moon with all of this is a time of releasing. It is a time of culmination. It is a time of fulfillment of a promise of the new moon, perhaps from back a few weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago. And in that, then what we want to make sure that we're doing is finding out what it is that's been in the way. I think we all know, right? We all know sort of what's been standing in our way of getting where we want to go, of doing what we want to do. For me, yesterday, I had to watch, the moon is a releasing time and a letting go, surrendering, right? Yesterday, I was ready to surrender my business. I mean, literally, I was ready to just shut it all down. And then I asked myself the question, well, what would you put in its place? And I couldn't answer that question. And then I realized I have nothing in the outer world to respond to, meaning I'm a generator. I can't respond to something that isn't out there. There are no other opportunities on the horizon. So what am I doing? I got into my head and I was overthinking, critically analyzing, and I ended up blaming myself, shaming myself. And I went, oh my God, because this is a full moon where that stuff is going to come up, right? We need to find the balance during the full moon, which, by the way, happens at 10:48 a.m. my time, West Coast time. So 10, 11, 12, 1:48 p.m. for you all on the East Coast. And in Europe, that will happen later in the day, but all happening today. And that is that culmination and fulfillment time. So finding the balance between the physical and the spiritual. Finding the balance between service and work and the practical, down-to-earth expression of our energies versus the impractical, the unseen, the intuitive versus the logical. And how do we balance both of those? So this full moon is really packed with bringing us to that kind of questioning process. How do we balance the finite with the infinite? Right? The finite, the earth is finite. Everything in the physical world is finite. All things here shall pass, but our spirit is infinite and it shall remain. We don't know what form that takes. We don't need to know. We just know that energy cannot be destroyed and your spirit or your soul is about energy. So the finite versus the infinite, and what does that bring to us? So the predictable, down to earth, practical versus the unpredictable, spiritual, creative, and infinitive, right? So infinite. And how do we move through both of those energies? So the full moon bringing us that. If you have landed too much on one side or the other, this is your time to bring that all into balance. This is a moon, excuse me. This is another thing. The only other major thing I changed was water. And unbelievably, I would drink maybe one of these. This is 40 ounces. Yeah, 40 ounces of water. I've changed to drink 3 of these a day. That's the other thing. The only other thing that major that I changed was how much water I drink. And I told my husband yesterday, I swear it's the water, because the water is causing, you pee more, but what's happening is your body's releasing more toxins and the water helps you flush those toxins. So this is the only other thing literally that I've changed. When I went to bed last night, my blood sugar was 113 as opposed to the 155 or 160 that it often is before I go to bed. So amazing changes. Okay, can't say that enough. Take your health into your own hands. My doctor didn't tell me to do all that. I just decided on my own. She really wanted me on medication, but I'm like, not doing it. So I'm going to do what I can do and I'm perfectly okay with going on medication if all of the steps that I'm taking that I know to be true for me don't work. But I think they're working. So good. All right. Illumination, epiphanies, ahas. We have 2 reasons why that becomes really important during this full moon. Number one, the full moon often brings us that revelation energy. It brings us that epiphany when, we've been searching for an answer. We couldn't find it. And the more we searched, the more frustrated we got. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's there. That's the kind of energy this full moon has. Not only that, this week in your human design template, the gate 47 is on the Ajna, and it reaches up to the gate of confusion, gate 64. Remember the one the sun was at last week? And it brings us the epiphany, the aha, when you allow the space for the confusion to exist and not judge it and not try to micromanage it, then when the epiphany comes, it all makes sense, right? It's like, oh, I found the instruction manual. Now I know how to put together this blasted table. So be aware that if you release your attachment to finding the answer will come. That's what this full moon is about. And especially because, again, the 47 is the gate that the Earth is at. That is the gate that the full moon will be at, because a full moon is an Earth-Moon conjunction, as the new moon is a sun-moon conjunction. So we have the opportunity then for all of that seeking to find its answers when we release, when we let go. So there is also an interesting connection from the January 10th eclipse. So the January 10th eclipse was a lunar eclipse, and the moon was in Cancer at the time. Cancer being the opposing sign to Capricorn, where all of those Capricorn planets have been sitting. Cancer was taking us on a journey to nurturing, to being more generous with our time to ourselves and to our families, using the energy of caretaking and loving energy and protection energy and healing energy, and applying it both to ourselves and to the people in our lives, because often we figure ourselves last. And it was about reducing our defenses, becoming less defensive over our stances, etc. And today, this full moon, which by the way is also a super moon, so this is a very powerful moon, the closest within the 90% that the closest approach the moon ever makes to the Earth. That makes it more powerful. That makes the tides in your body more susceptible to what's going on with the moon. It is in essence almost like a mini eclipse, even though it technically isn't an eclipse of any sort, but it's got the same power and punch as an eclipse. And so that made me go, that degree, it's almost 20 degrees, 19 degrees, 54 minutes, very darn close to 20 degrees. That sounds so familiar. The last eclipse was at 20 degrees of Cancer. And I always tell you, when there's an eclipse, we have these moments in time that call up an echo of what was going on at that time. So if you could put your thinking caps on, even temporarily, go backwards in time to January 10th, and what was coalescing in your life at that time? What were you releasing at that time? What if you looked down the road, could you see yourself letting go of or releasing? And now we have the next sort of step in that, right? The next level of that releasing, and the next level of that culmination point. So what's happening then is that it's being brought back up to you. So if you are a journaler, and this is where journaling comes in really handy, go back to what your entries were around January 10th. What was going on then? Because now you should see the next level for that, right? What's the next opening, and what's the next step that I can take in achieving that goal, or in letting something go, or in creating something new. So we have a lot of connections here, as well as to the Jupiter and Saturn position in Capricorn. So we have more of the destruction and more of the reconstruction going on in our lives. What are we moving through? Okay. But was there anything else I wanted to say? Okay. And then on top of that, today is also the day Mercury turns direct. Mercury turns direct this evening, however, so significantly later than the full moon. So it's not necessarily involved in the full moon, but close enough that it makes me go, I wonder what the full moon and Mercury connection might be. And we'll talk about that in just a second. I want to go over to Facebook, since I've done kind of an interesting job here this morning of timing. Kathy Miller says, cut back on bread and pastas. I don't eat those. I never have. My blood sugars have been very high. You are on the right track. Good morning. And yes, water, 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 water. That's my mantra. Water, water, water. Amy Morning. Good morning to you. Amy Moore. Good morning. She says, coming in late. Missed everyone. Last week was crazy and busy. Moving to Arizona and finding a place. Nice to be watching from my new room this morning. Arizona, what possessed you? And where in Arizona? Of course, if you're in the Sedona area, it is so gorgeous there. Colleen, good morning. She says it definitely could be the water, as we are mostly water. Exactly. And, you know, I thought I was doing a pretty good job drinking water. 40 ounces a day is likely not that good in drinking water. So now I'm drinking 120 ounces. My daughter said, Mom, you should be drinking a gallon of water a day. Oh, that's a lot of water. That's a lot of water. And you have to be very focused on making sure that you drink water. So, but it has been helping. And that's the thing, right? When you see the proof in your own life of what's happening, it's hard to deny it anymore, right? So, okay, I don't see any questions here about the full moon or anything that happened over the weekend. So I'm going to go into the planet Mercury and what does his moving direct mean for both of us, me and all of you. So Mercury direct, that occurs at 8:41 p.m. my time tonight. And that will be 11:41 p.m. for those of you on the East Coast. If you're in European time zones, it'll happen tomorrow for you. And that means recent issues that you've been having should smooth out, or at least start to improve in some way, shape, or form. Now, remember, when a planet changes direction, it's not like boom, right? It just goes right. First of all, it's never really moving backwards. It just seems to be moving backwards. But if we assume that Mercury changing a direction has an effect on us, and it does, then we would also need to assume that it's going to take some time to see that change come to us, right? So that's why we have the retro shade. Thank you, Suzanne Fulmer, for that term. The retro shade being the time before Mercury really picks up all of its speed and covers the ground it's already been on. So it's turning direct at 28 degrees of Aquarius. And that is the degree then it had where we started to really pay attention to what's happening, because it got up to Pisces 16 and then turned retrograde backwards now again to the 28th degree of Aquarius. And now it will move forward. And until it passes that 16th degree of Pisces, or 14th degree of Pisces, excuse me, we're in old territory. So after it passes that, which is around the 30th, 31st of this month, then Mercury is in new territory and will complete its retrograde cycle. So for the next few weeks, we may still be feeling the sort of backwash of this planet changing direction, moving forward. But the answers that we've been waiting for, the clue as to what comes next, may be revealed to us during this period of time. So if we just hold our space, right? Don't try to make huge strides today. In fact, today I would just hold, because we have that full moon and we have a lot of, kind of different energies going on. It might not be the best day to decide to make change and go in a new direction. Hold fast for a bit and let the way forward be revealed to you, right? Don't push your way into that just because Mercury's forward, but allow it to be revealed to you. It's a completely different feel from pushing, right? We may still be feeling a little unclear. Maybe we're a little bit confused still. We may be a little bit daisy still, especially, in the next few days when Mercury moves back into Pisces. We may be going back over the territory where we got very confused and very muddled in our thinking. And so I would hold off maybe making big decisions for a few more days yet, until the way is revealed to you. Don't force conversations with people. Maybe some of you have been holding off having a major conversation with someone. Maybe hold off for another couple of days until your mind and your mouth and your heart all align, get all in shape. And that tension should ease then over the next few days. And of course, more and more as we move through the shadow period of time, the retro shade. So any questions about that, you can put those in the box, and I'll go back to that in a minute. This is there's another reason for this to be a powerful day, and it's because we've reached the 13th day in our Pleiadian Earth energy. And as you all know, 13 is sacred to the Pleiadians. It was sacred to the Maya. It was sacred to all of the nature earth religions, the Wiccas, the paganism, the Druids, all celebrated the number 13, as do the Pleiadians. They remind us here that this is the energy of ascension. This is another culmination point. This is a completion on this level. So we enter into a spiral and we move through the spiral, ever moving up, and we reach 13 and we've reached the top of the spiral, and then we go into the 1 again. So there's always a relationship to this final day of this week and to the first day of this week. The first day of the week sets the tone. And that was at 1, listening. Remember, listening energy. Are we really listening, or are we just hearing? Are we really tuned in when we're having a conversation with someone, or are our minds wandering off somewhere? And that question then takes us into the void almost, right? To be really aware of what it is that's happening. Well, of course, the number 13 also takes us into the void, going in for that quiet space of integration, the preparation for the next level, which begins tomorrow with 1 intuiting, has to find all of that integration from the 1 listening. So we're preparing for the next level. We're integrating everything we've just learned in the last or the previous 12 days. We're evaluating all that has transpired since the beginning of this level and putting it into perspective for ourselves. And every time that we consider what is it that we've learned, we're listening. We're really listening to the voice of spirit, to the voice of God, whatever it is that you want to call that, the voice of the cosmos, and really tuning in, letting go of the mind and allowing the heart or the soul or the spirit to really guide you and lead you. Now, today's energy of 13 is in seeing energy. Seeing energy was the energy of the eagle, men, and in the Mayan calendar, MEN, men, which meant eagle or higher perspective. It is about perceiving from a higher perspective as opposed to just what we see with our eyes. So we have many ways of connecting to our environment, to what's real, to what's true, and our eyes are not the only things, right? But this is primarily visionary energy, but maybe you're visioning with your third eye, right? With your third eye. Become a visionary, become a seer of your own destiny, right? This isn't you having to be told this is what you need to do. This is how you need to do it. This is you becoming a visionary, a seer, your own seer, right? Your own purveyor of your destiny. Avoid escapist tendencies today, as these escapist tendencies to ease the pain that we might feel from what's transpired in the past, from our crazy, blabbering minds. The pain that we feel in the world as we, hear about the coronavirus, or we hear about any of the other things that are going on in the outer world. And also then be open to receiving new ideas as this expansion energy sets in, right? But it takes in deep listening. You cannot really, this is where you can't go looking for the answers. It's more like becoming the Buddha, right? And sitting in repose and waiting for those things to find you, and they will. Our fear, especially generators and manifesting generators, is that it won't come to us, right? So that we got to go make things happen. And making things happen can muddle the waters or muddy the waters, and things get all crazy. All right. That is really it for today. I'm going to go back to Facebook and see how everybody's doing. Amy says, I am in Tucson. Oh, I've been through there many times. I love that city too. Came for the affordable rent. San Diego was getting too expensive. Colleen says, you are supposed to take your body weight, divide it in half, and drink that number in ounces. Wow. Kathy, these are older comments. All right. Well, I know there are other comments. I just can't see them, and I'm sorry for that. So, Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel asked me a question last Friday in the in the feed, and I didn't get to see that question. So her question was about the dragon cards, and did I choose a card for me? And actually, I did, Debbie. I did. Because first of all, I ended up drawing one for my husband, and I drew for him the Ascension Dragon. And so, because I just wanted to give him something as he was walking out the door, you know, I give him a kiss, give him a card. It's kind of funny in our household sometimes. Or I give him advice, like I say, hey, you know, the moon's in Libra, you better take care. People are going to be weird today, or something like that. So he's always getting advice from me, or he's getting, you know, a card. And so later I sat down and I drew a card for me. So yes, Debbie, I did. And when I did that, I didn't get just one card. I got two cards. And the first card that came out was the White Dragon of Orion. I hope I just said that right. The White Dragon. Whoops, where'd he go? Pure White Dragon from Orion. That's the one I got. And then I also drew the Black Dragon. So it was really interesting. Two cards. The Black Dragon is the second one that, I mean, they kind of popped out together. The Black Dragon and the Pure White Dragon. I thought, what a total interesting set of circumstances for a Gemini to receive two cards that are sort of the ones that represent me in this deck. One being white and one being black. And what am I always talking about? You know, opposites, and how we have to bring, you know, that duality is all about, you know, two sides of the same coin. And so that, if that tells you a little bit more about, you know, what cards I represent, or that represented me. Pure White Dragon from Orion. And I cannot remember now what that one said, but it was something about sharing my wisdom. So it made totally good sense to me. And the black one was about cocooning, going into the void that I've been. It seems funny because these are some of the themes that I've been talking about, going into that void to, so Pure White Dragon from Orion transforms your ascension knowledge into pure wisdom. Process what you know, act with truth and honesty, let your wings of light grow and expand. So that was that one. And then somebody else had gotten the Black Dragon too on Friday when we were drawing cards. And it cocoons you so that your divine potential grows. Meditate, reflect, undergo a metamorphosis. Here's my lesson, Debbie. Don't force the metamorphosis. Let the metamorphosis come to you. I tried doing that this weekend, and all I did was spend the day, yesterday in particular, frustrated, angry, upset, throwing a tantrum. What can I say? All right, guys, that is it for me. I'm going to take one last check and see if there are any questions. And Debbie Tibbetts, thank you for answering that. Interesting. It fits. It did. It did. Gosh. So from Mimi, get the blank spot of the current energy. Good. I have places to create, pieces to create with. Let the thoughts flow and be aware of those thoughts. Actually, that's awesome. Mimi. Val Jocelyn. So, question mark. Quiet the external perceptions and be your own healer through intuition. I think that sums it up quite nicely, Val. It does indeed. So because we, you know, we live on this planet that's really all about duality. So we have the duality of being on a physical planet, being physical beings in a body, very physical, very practical, you know, very, I can see it, feel it, taste it, touch it. And also housing a spirit. And that spirit, which is not so see it, feel it, taste it, touch it. It's ethereal. It's hard to pin down. It's here nonetheless. So a moon like this, Mercury turning direct like this, the Pleiadian-Earth energy like this really tells us about, you know, trying to strike that balance and being both. And not just focusing on the what you can see, feel, taste, touch, and hear. It is really about really going deeper into those, listening, sensing, intuiting. So we have more ways of knowing than we really think we do, right? Most of us just think it's all in our mind. All right. Well, I think that's enough for me on Monday. I hope all of you have a wonderful full moon. It sure looked beautiful in the sky. This morning I could see it setting. Last night it rose, and I wanted to take a picture so bad, but my camera just wouldn't focus in. It was too light still. And all it was just blending right into the background, which is so irritating. I have thoughts of being this awesome photographer, and I have no skills at being a photographer. Such things, right? Anyway, take care, everybody. Have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow morning. Bye for now.